Okay, good morning. Boy, that cut this really close today. And like I said, I did have those doctor's appointments this morning that I took care of and got back just in time to take care of some other business and then get the stream going. And even made up a cute little thumbnail. And of course, I did have to make another cup of tea uh, to drink so that my throat doesn't go too far out. Um, we all know what the big thing is going on today. All right, and I will talk about that in a few minutes. Um, I'll basically want to give a chance for some other people to possibly show up to see if anyone is up for this morning. Okay, let's see. Having a seat in New Barton. Oh, kitten, man! I just saw this picture you sent. That's nice. Okay. And let's see. There we go. There's that. Oh. Oh, one little piece of news that I found out yesterday, or I found out last week, something, a little piece of trivia. Hey, morning, Digi. What's the big thing? Hey, Data. The security leak amongst JD, Pete, Marco Rubio, Tulsi Gabbard, the CIA director. That is going to be in the news for a while. So I want to go ahead and get my 2 cents worth in now. And with my background in military security, Air Force security with classified information, um, that was my job for God. At least 6 years I ran the securities for our squadron. In the last 3 years, the first 3 years was running it just for the maintenance side. The last 3 years running both maintenance and operations side. And I've got some things to say, and there's somebody that needs to be fired. I'll just put that up right now. Someone should lose their job. Who? I don't know. I don't know where to point the finger at. Um, I know, well, hell, we've already started on it, Data, so we'll go with it and then we'll do filler afterwards. The these somebody somewhere along the lines prior to the attack on the healthy group last week, somebody set up a discussion change on Signal. Why in the hell they used Signal, I don't know. That's a public thing. Anybody can use Signal. There undoubtedly is a more secure classified system for group talk other than what's commercially available out there on the market that has to be downloaded to their government issued cell phones, not their private cell phones, their personal cell phones, but they're government issued. that's got all the bells and whistles for classified. I mean, we're talking $10,000 cell phones here that these people would have. All right, I'm sorry about that, but you didn't need to hear what just erupted. And these people have got no business using Signal, none whatsoever. And for them to, whoever set this private chat up, to include a journalist in this private chat. Goldberg claimed that somebody by the name of Waltz, National Security Advisor Mike Waltz, set this up and invited this journalist Goldberg, Jeff Goldberg. Now, without having a damned good reason to put a journalist in this chat group, which I can think of no good reason of putting a journalist in the group. Mr. Waltz, he should be gone. I mean, that's all there is to it. Pete Hegseth, the Democrats are coming after Pete Hegseth. They didn't want, remember, it was a tiebreaker to get Pete in as Secretary of Defense. It took a tiebreaker. The Democrats are coming after Pete with no ifs, ands, or buts. And ultimately, every one of them from J.D. Vance, I mean, this group was J.D. Vance, Pete Hegseth, Tulsi Gabbard, Marco Rubio, and Mike Waltz. Those are the big names involved. Other people probably are involved, but those are the big names involved. Any one of them should have questioned why Signal was being used. Any one of them should have looked at the list of who all was invited, who all was involved in this group, and questioned why Jeff Goldberg's name was there. Any one of them should have done that. Each and every one of them should have done that. And now I am not leaving Goldberg of, yes, he was invited into the group. And I can understand why he stayed in the group. I mean, hell, he's a reporter. He knows he's going to get some inside information that he shouldn't be getting. All right. But one, and again, I'm not saying he was wrong professionally for staying in this group he knew he shouldn't have been in. But he knew he shouldn't have been in, and that his invite was a mistake, and he shouldn't have been in that group. And he should have removed himself from that. He should have announced, hey, I'm in this group by mistake. I'm backing out. And two, at least he waited until after the attacks were over and done with before he went public with this. I'm going to give him credit with that. But he should have kept his mouth shut and about the whole thing anyway. But I understand why he did it. He's out here now and he is causing this is a major mistake on the part of the Trump administration. This is a huge mistake on the part of the Trump administration. And there are 5 people whose names are on the top of the list there to be held responsible for it. Each and every one of them should have taken a look as to who all was in this group chat. Each and every one of them should have. I've said that before, and I'm going to say that multiple times throughout this. Because this hurts my professionalism. This hurts me deep with my professionalism pride, my professional pride I had in running a security system. Now, did I make a mistake or two? Yeah, of course. But nothing like this. Nothing like this. And that particularly bothers me with J.D. Vance and Pete Hegseth, both of them with a military background. Both of them having dealt with classified information. Tulsi Gabbard, it bothers me with her. Marco Rubio bothers me with him to lesser extents because, I mean, Marco being a state senator, yeah, he dealt some with classified information, but it wasn't on a military level. Tulsi Gabbard, this bothers me with her for the same, let's see, I'm for the, uh, this bothers me with her military background. She should have known better. So there's 3 people there, at least 3 people with real military backgrounds, having dealt with classified information on a military basis, that should have known better. She was a lieutenant colonel in the Army. She should have known better. She should have known what to do. She should have known to look to see who all was involved in this group. Now, I don't know what Mike Waltz's, if he's got a military background or not. But at the bare minimum, if Mike Waltz is the one that set up this group, he should be fired. He should be gone. That's just at a bare minimum. There is nobody here involved in this that's blameless. that doesn't hold any blame. None of them. And each one of them need to come out at a minimum with an apology. But again, apology. The Democrats are coming after Pete's head. They want him on his head's on a pole because I mean, they were 100% against him from the very beginning. So there's not a whole lot, and the Democrats are going to do everything they can to destroy him. And they are going to use this against Trump, and against Pete, and against the whole crew for the next 3.5 years. There is no real coming back from this. There is no way for any of them to fully recover because this is going to be held over their heads forever by the Democrats, and rightfully so. Are they going to blow it up beyond where it should be blown up? Yes. They're not going to be able to take 2 steps without being reminded about this. But I am deeply disappointed in all of them because all of them except Rubio come from a strong background in military uh, secrets, and all of them should have known better. All of them should have taken. Not a one of them took the minimum steps to ensure that their communications were secure. Because the first step is who all is involved in this group chat. Who all has seen what I'm putting down here? And not a single one of them thought to do it. And that's best case scenario. Not a single one of them thought to do it. Worst case is one of them did do it or all of them did do it. And they just looked over and saw Goldberg's name and didn't think nothing about it. Didn't look in to see who in the hell was this Goldberg character and what he was. Well, that's even worse. This would have been a court-martial event amongst any active duty people who've done it. Active duty, guard, or reserve. Anybody who was actually out in the field. This would have been a court-martial event. No, there had been no Article 15. There had been no letter of reprimand, no letter of admonishment, no Article 15. This would have gone straight to a court-martial. Justifiably. Data, if this was a setup by Mike Waltz, then nobody looked at him before appointing him to that job or keeping him, or if he was Mike Waltz, let me look here. I don't think he's a holdover. Mike Waltz. Here we go. Oh, Christ. Mike Waltz is a special forces officer. Mike Waltz is special forces. So he should have known better. He's been a member of the Republican Party. He's representative from 2019 to 2020 to 2025 here in Florida, 6th congressional district in Florida. This is just, I'm going to be honest, this has got to be just a screw up. This is a major league screw up. Yeah, you're right. Data, she did. He served in the Bush administration as the defense policy director in the Pentagon and counterterrorism advisor to Dick Cheney. Yeah, I mean, so everybody involved has got a military back. Does Rubio have a military background? I don't know. Marco, do you have a military background? Secretary of State, Republican, Florida candidate. Now, Marco is the only one that does not have a military background. So, of all of them, he is the least culpable for this, but it's not by much. So, once again, now, one, why in the hell were they using Signal? Why aren't they using? Because I mean, I I'm going on the assumption that one exists, a government only secure chat for on their government issued cell phones. And two, why didn't any of them look to see who all was involved, who all was linked in, who all had been invited to this private chat? And why weren't any questions raised before this was ever done? Before the first thing was ever texted out on it. That is why I'm saying somebody needs to be fired. Somebody needs to be fired over this. And those that remain, I hope that they've learned one hell of a lesson here. Because this was an unforced error. This is nothing that should have happened. This is something that all of them bear culpability for. And all they've done is hurt the Trump administration. I'm very disappointed in all of them. Marco Rubio to a lesser extent, but everybody else, I'm very disappointed in them with their military backgrounds. They all should have known better. They've all had security training up the wazoo. And there is no need whatsoever for this to have happened. This was stupidity beyond stupidity. And anybody that survives this, which is going to be JD, I'm going to assume JD, Marco, and Tulsi will survive. Um, Waltz and Pete are the two who's sitting out there on a limb. Waltz, first and foremost, he's the furthest out on that tree branch. Okay, Digi, you have a good one, my friend. Thanks for stopping by. Have a good day at work. Waltz is the furthest out on the tree branch, followed by Pete, followed by Tulsi, followed by Marco. The only one who is really safe here is JD. But he's got one hell of a black eye. And I'm all about giving him a huge ass black eye over this. I find no excuses for any of it. I don't. So that's my rant on this. And I want it to be I want it to be said, I'm not excusing any of them. I am not excusing any one of these people. I support all of them. Except Waltz is the only one I don't support because I don't know that much about him. I never researched him. I've never followed him. I followed Pete. I followed Tulsi. I followed Marco. And I had confidence in all of them. I had confidence in all of them not to make this kind of a stupid ass mistake. And I cannot think of a single excuse for it. Now, data, what could have been a setup by somebody? You're right, it could have been. But it was a setup that could have easily been blocked if all any one of them done was taking a look at the members of the group chat before the first chat went out. That's why I hold every single one of them equally culpable. Because anybody, when you set up a group chat, you can see exactly who was in there. Wait a minute, what? Hexas leak war plan scandal takes an unexpected turn. The leak was planned. Okay, that's interesting as hell. Let me see where that's coming. Okay. Uh, war plans. leak was planned. Okay, I am not seeing nothing here saying that. I'm not finding anything currently that this leak was planned. I will have to follow that. But it still it makes no sense to me. There are 18 people in this group chat. So that's from an article I just opened up that just was written in about an hour ago. Ah, I see why they use Signal because the Trump team used Signal throughout his campaign. So, okay, there are, I'm the article here is not saying anything about who, if that, this idea that the leak was planned. So, anyway, I figured I'd spend about a half hour, 45 minutes on this story because it really bothers me a lot. It really it's amazing. I retired out of the military back out of the Air Force back in 1998. It's been 27 it's coming up on 27 years since I retired. 1 July will be 27 years since I've retired out of the Air Force. And to think that something like this, almost 3 decades later would still bother me like this. Just absolutely amazes me that I get this boiled up over it, especially when I know that all that could have been all the whole thing could have been avoided. And one, they should never be using Signal. That's mistake one. They should never be using Signal. There are government programs out there that they could be using instead of a commercially available one. And 18 people involved. There's 18 people whose jobs are on the line. I don't know who all these other people are, but there's 18 people that should have looked at that and seen Waltz's name on there or Goldberg's name on there. There's a whole lot of people whose jobs are at stake, and would definitely be at stake if I had anything to do with it. If Pete goes, I feel sorry for him. He may be the sacrificial lamb. So there's, like I said, I don't know enough as to exactly who should be fired, but there's somebody that needs to be fired over this. So, and let's see here. I'm looking to see if there's anything. This may be an extremely short stream because, like I said, I had early morning doctor's appointments today, so I didn't have a whole lot. The only thing I knew I was going to be talking about was this. So I'm looking to see if let's see here. That's right. New York Supreme Court struck down a New York City law that would have let over 800,000 non-citizens to vote. Okay. Um, I've covered this before because it just uh, places where that allow non-citizens to vote has been something I've talked about uh, several times in the past because they do allow even illegals. Some of these people are illegals to vote. Okay, let's see here. San Francisco, Oakland, Washington Washington. I think Washington D.C. had that overturned. Congress just overturned that. 10 communities in Maryland. Uh, there's places in Ohio that allows it, where they don't have. Uh, Chicago allows undocumented immigrants to vote in local school elections. Montpelier, Vermont. All it says is they have to be a legal resident to vote. Doesn't say they have to be a citizen, just a uh, legal resident. So yeah, there's too many places in this country that allows non-citizens to vote. We should have, and with the Republican Congress, a Republican president, especially Trump, there it should be easy to get a bill passed that says that only U.S. citizens are allowed to vote in any election. There's there is that little codicil in the Constitution that Democrats, Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, used that allows Congress to pass such a law. And it would override every stinking one of these local city and state laws allowing non citizens of any character to vote. That that is what I would like to see happen. I think I will. I'm going to send up a letter to the Congress critters about that. What else is going on here? Oh, big news! Elon Musk wore a red MAGA hat during the Trump cabinet meeting. That seems to be big enough news that they raised a stink about it. Um, I haven't had a chance to look into it much, but a couple of these judges that have been ruling against Trump and the continuing lawfare that the Democrats have been running against them, it appears Congress is looking at stepping in and impeaching them. That's going to be interesting to see under what justification. Don't get me wrong. I hate their rulings. I hate the fact, I honestly believe these judges are overstepping their limits. I honestly believe it. But isn't that something that the judicial branch should be stepping in and stomping them down and punishing them, not the legislative branch? Because the much like the president and the vice president, they can only be impeached for high crimes and misdemeanors. And as far as I know, there is no law against them overreaching their judicial areas. Again, that's as far as I know. Now they can, the superior courts you can step in and tell these district judges that, can step in and say, okay, you've overreached and we're warned about overreaching, and we're going to strip you of your bench, strip you of your authorities. Then that's within the judicial branch. It's like the judicial branch can't reach over there and slap down a Congress critter for doing something wrong unless somebody presses charges against them. Meanwhile, the legislative branch can censor and remove from office and punish someone within the legislative area on their own. So this will be interesting to see what grounds Congress, and I personally I want to see these Democratic judges that are overstepping get punished. And if that means they get removed from the bench on a permanent basis, so much the better. We've got to do something though about these judges. Yeah, when a local judge, when one of 600 judges, federal judges, decides he's going to step in and tell the president what the president can and can't do, then that's wrong. The only court, in my opinion, that should be able to tell a president he's overstepped is the Supreme Court. That's my opinion. Um, but it used to take a supermajority vote for a federal judge to be seated. And that kept a lot of judges from both sides of the aisle from being seated because they weren't central enough to appease both sides. They weren't a judge that both Republicans and liberals and Democrats could look at and say, yeah, he's a decent judge. would be satisfied with their rulings. Uh, Harry Reid did that. He took it from requiring a supermajority down to a simple majority. And when that happened, a lot of very biased judges, Democrat judges, got pushed through under Obama. And remember, Mitch McConnell, one of the things Mitch did right, warned him that if he pushes that through, that it was going to come back and bite him in the ass because the Democrats wouldn't always be in charge. And then as soon as Mitch McConnell became majority in the House or in the Senate, he even lowered it down for the Supreme Court for a simple majority. Because Kavanaugh wouldn't be there. Neither would Amy Coney Barrett if it weren't for that. So we can thank Harry Reid and Mitch McConnell for the state of our current judicial system. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Democrats think that they're always going to be in charge, and they change the rules to fit them at the moment. And then the whole country ends up suffering because then the Republicans turn around and take advantage of that rule change when they're in charge. And now we've got judges that more so from the Democrat side, in my opinion, that aren't worthy of sitting on a federal bench sitting there because they're too damn partisan. So there. Okay, here. What else is sitting there? I'm not even going to listen to the Democrats' weekly press conference because we know what it's going to be. Oh, man, the women. Rosa DeLauro and the Democratic Women Congress are reintroducing the Paycheck Fairness Act. Women deserve equal pay for equal work now. They do get equal pay for equal work. This garbage lie that women get paid 73 cents on the dollar is just so much baloney. When they took that stat, what they did was took all the money that every man earned and all the money that every woman earned and said, look at this, women don't earn as much. What they didn't do was, one, take into consideration the type of jobs being held by men versus women. When the majority of your child care professionals are women. Child care don't get paid squat. I'm here to tell you. My wife is in child care, preschool. And I will tell you, their pay is not that great. The jobs that women take on the whole are not the same as men's. And women do not take mining jobs. They don't take the dangerous, dirty, nasty jobs The jobs that require a lot of physical strength to do. And these are the jobs that are better paid. Yeah. So sewer workers working out on the ocean on the fishing boats, the shrimp boats, the uh, oil derricks out there. Women don't really work there. The men do. Go out to an oil field and see how many women are out there slinging them chains around, them pieces of drill. Yeah, you'll see women out there, but they're in the nice clean job out there. They're not out there as the rustabout. They're not the ones getting dirty and nasty. Now, when women say they want equal jobs, they're talking C-suite. They're talking office work. They're not talking these nasty jobs. Or, well, I want to be a policewoman. I saw a video the other day, damn female cop. A guy was approaching her. She was trying to calm him down. He wasn't calming down. He was either drunk or stoned or high. He was something. And all she did was get on her mic yelling for help and backing up. And that went on for a good 5 minutes until a couple of men showed up to take care of him. She was walking through that crowd like Billy Badass as a police officer until that guy approached her. And then she realized she couldn't handle him because he was too damn big. And he wasn't that big of a man. I'd put him at maybe 6 foot, 150 to 170 pounds, somewhere in that area. So he wasn't that big of a guy. He was well built, but he wasn't huge. But he was more than enough to handle her 5'8" ass. 5'6". She's about 5'6". And probably weighed about 150 pounds. She was a plump little son of a gun. My wife watches this Chicago Fire on TV with the 50-50 split between the female and male officers. Proportion, the proper number of females, the proper number of minorities, and of course a gay couple and a lesbian couple, all in one fire station. And a black supervisor, black female supervisor. And I think the one white male supervisor is a drunkard or something, alcoholic. He's got a lot of issues, so he's not really that good of a supervisor. But we all know that is actually full of nonsense. Half these women firefighters can't do the job and meet the same standards that the men met 20 years ago, 30 years ago. They just simply can't do it. But equal pay for equal work, let's see the women do the equal work first. Let's see them pull the 50-hour work weeks, the 60-hour work weeks. Let's see them pull the 2, 3 years with no vacations. Now, granted, moms, women in the workplace who are mothers, the mother is most likely the woman, the person, the parent who's going to take time away from work to take their child to doctor's appointments. My wife did when my son was young. She's the one that made certain he got to his doctor appointments. Now, once I retired out of the military, then I started taking him to a lot of his doctor appointments because I had a very flexible job, especially when I was working in the insurance industry. I had very flexible hours to work, to where I could take time to run him to a doctor's appointment or go out and meet with his teachers. But when I was active duty or when I was working at the convenience stores, I didn't have the luxury of being able to take time off work to take him in. So this fallacy idea that women are victims and need to have special protections in the workplace. They're as good as a man. They can do anything a man can do. But they need the government to step in to make sure that they get the better jobs and they get the better paychecks. Women get, that's already the law that you can't base paychecks on gender. And since people are more than free to discuss, it's actually illegal for a workplace to say you can't talk about your paychecks. I don't like hearing people talk about, employees talking about what everybody earns. What I bring home is my business, it's not yours. That's between me and my boss. If I'm happy with what I'm earning, great. If I'm not happy with what I'm earning, then it's time for me to grow a pair and go in there and talk to the boss about getting a pay raise or finding another job that's going to give me the pay I want. But I guess that's the difference between being a man and being a woman. A woman needs the government to stand there and tell them to step in and protect them. Hey, Fury afternoon, sir. Let's see here. 3/5 to 2/3 of the federal budget consists of taking property from one American and giving it to another. Where a private person do the same thing, we'd call it theft. When the government does it, we euphemistically call it income redistribution. That's exactly what thieves do, redistribute income. That's from Walter E. Williams. Man, I tell you, Walter E. Williams and Thomas Sowell. Those are two men that make me just thinking about them make me feel stupid that I'm not worthy of discussing anything. Those two men are just if I could aspire to be half as knowledgeable of anybody, it'd be either one of those two men. The absolutely, absolutely amazing gentlemen. I just hope their wisdom. I just wish their wisdom would be more widespread. Frederick Hayek, nothing is more securely lodged in the ignorance of the experts. Okay. Oh, what's this? I need to pull this article up. Uh, here we go. What's this? Open this up. HUD Secretary Scott Turner, DHS Secretary Kristi Noem establishing interagency partnership to end illegal immigrant alien exploitation of housing programs. Oh, let me share this. This is an interesting article. There we go. Let's see how that work. Hey, there it is. Great. U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development Secretary Scott Turner and U.S. Department of Homeland Security Kristi Noem today signed the American Housing Programs for American Cities Memorandum of Understanding to end wasteful misappropriation of taxpayer dollars to benefit illegal aliens instead of American citizens. As part of this new agreement, HUD will provide a full-time staff member to assist operations in the Incident Command Center, establishing an interagency partnership to facilitate data sharing and ensure taxpayer-funded housing programs are not used to harbor or benefit illegal aliens. Yes, wonderful. American tax dollars should be used for the benefit of American citizens, especially when it comes to an issue as pressing as our nation's housing crisis. This new agreement will leverage resources, including technology and personnel, to ensure American people are the only priority when it comes to public housing. We will continue to work closely with DHS to maximize our resources and put American citizens first. Let me come back to that. Let me come back to this. All right. Well, now we do have a problem with this because, again, between the wife and I, we know we've seen this happen for public housing. You'll get and it's almost always 95% of the time, a woman with a couple of children will be in public housing. The apartment is in her name. She is supposed to be the only adult living there with her children because everything is based off of her income. But baby daddy or boyfriend or a significant other, anybody except legal husband, is also living there. And they may or may not have an income. And this is happening all throughout public housing. Not every woman with kids is living there with the baby daddy, to use the vernacular, or the father of the children or the current boyfriend, current significant others living with them. And their income is also being used to help support and finance the family, quote unquote, family unit, using the term family unit very loosely, you know, two adults and children living there. Whereas if he was being counted and his income was being counted, they would not qualify for the public housing, or they'd have to pay more for the public housing. This is fairly common, and this is something public housing needs to get a grip on. Because that is seriously American citizens gaming the system. Now, I do not want to see us go the way of the English housing council system. I don't want to see us going that way. That is putting way, way, way too. I mean, that's worse than an HOA. And you know how I feel about HOAs. Those are nothing but power hungry for the most part. Not every one of them, but for the most part. HOAs are nothing more than made up of little fiefdoms by power hungry little twerps who have nothing better to do with their time but to get into everybody else's business. All right. According to recent data from the Center for Immigration Studies, about 59% of illegal alien households use one or more welfare programs, creating roughly $42 billion in cost. Is that $42 billion a year? I would imagine so. Across the country, there are 9 million residents of public and subsidized housing without proper information sharing to determine eligibility status. Under the Biden administration, states and localities introduced legislation to ban illegal immigrants from public housing. And okay, well, wait a minute here. Under the Biden administration, states and localities introduced legislation to ban illegal immigrants from public housing. That's a good thing. But maybe what they're saying is the states had to do it and the federal government didn't do anything. Maybe that's what the point of that sentence is. Because it's a good thing to see states and localities introduce that kind of legislation. Introduce, pass, and get signed into law is what I'd rather have seen. In addition, the American Housing Programs for American Citizens, through its Office of Public and Indian Housing, instructed moving to work public housing authorities to comply with Section 214 of Housing Community Developing Act 1980, prohibiting HUD-funded service providers from providing financial assistance to illegal immigrants. The Western countries, United States, Canada, the UK, Ireland, the European Union, for the most part, there's been a couple of countries like Poland that don't. Poland's one of the few countries, I think, that don't take refugees in. But for the most part, the Western countries are the only countries in the world that are intentionally absorbing millions and millions of people from other nations that do not love that country. The only thing they want from the Western world is money. They don't want our beliefs. They don't want our style of government. They don't want our freedoms, other than the freedoms that they can abuse to enrich themselves, to take over the country. Yeah, yes, I'm going to say it. Uh, I've I've got no problem saying it. I know I get called names for saying it, but I honestly believe that the Western world is at the brink of being subjugated by the third world countries, because we have allowed so many immigrants from the third world countries into our countries that they have failed to assimilate into our country, into our country's beliefs, into our country's ethos, into our country's customs. And let's not forget, there are plenty of practicing Muslims out there that their sole goal in life is to overpopulate every country in the world to the point that they can turn every country into a Muslim nation. And if you don't believe me, look at the UK, look at France. Quite recently in the UK, a Jewish man was escorted off the streets because his mere presence, he wasn't saying anything, just his mere presence was considered an offense against the Muslim people. And the police forcibly escorted him away, not for his protection, but hey, Paul, good morning. Not for his protection, but all but under arrest because his mere presence was an offense. And we've got the nearly the same things happening here in the States. In New York, there was a push there a while back that the Sharia police were driving vehicles painted other very similar to the New York City police to patrol the Muslim communities. But they were Sharia police. They weren't New York City police. Hey, morning, Ramen. Exactly. Uh, and I just got another uh, strike against me over on TikTok, public communities strike for making a comment about uh, it was who it said somebody had short people's disease because they were had a little bit of authority and they pushed it so hard. The Napoleon complex. That's what I should have said. Instead of saying they had short person disease, I should have said they had Napoleon complex. But anywho, let's see. So what else is going on out there in the world? I'm not worried about that. Ah, LA County is doing everything they can as they to consider illegal aliens as being homeless residents so they can't get deported. Ain't that nice? Let's see here. Now, that other article I was reading, uh, Brian Bassinger is saying that 9 million illegal alien households occupy public housing, with 771,000 homeless U.S. citizens, including 33,000 homeless vets. Getting rid of the 9 million illegal alien households would end homelessness in America. No, I disagree with that because a lot of these illegals are being housed in hotels. And taxpayer money is being used to pay the hotel bills. Now, granted, I work in a hotel, and yeah, that's great for that hotel. They've got 100% occupancy. They don't have to worry about the bills being paid because the bills are being paid by the U.S. government, so they're getting their checks every month. And the people inside have to obey have to obey laws and rules, or if they can be evicted. Now it's harder to evict somebody that's there under government paycheck, but been there, done that. Got that T-shirt at our hotel. They weren't illegals; they were people that public housing was putting up on a temporary basis. But yeah, that's interesting. So if you get rid of the hotels, and I don't think we would quite have the public housing for 771,000 homeless, but we'd probably be able to house the vast majority, maybe 500,000 of them. I don't know. So anyway, oh, Jasmine Crockett's up to her usual crap about attacking white people. And let's see here. Blaze TV, isn't that Glenn Beck's organization? Blaze TV has broken news that Pelosi had an actual fixer present at the J6 protests. A guy named Aaron Black, who also organized Occupy Wall Street and is part of her current consulting team. Black organized, transported, and paid agitators to attend and incite violence at the J6 protest. If that is true, if that's true, then Pelosi's in some trouble. So, all right, guys, let's see here. I have got to go. Well, I've got to go, guys. So I will be back Thursday morning. Uh, and let's see here. Who? Oh yeah, Fury. That will happen to the hotels here in the states that have been housing the illegals. Because once the illegals are gone, it's going to cost them a bloody fortune to fix the rooms. Uh, Honestly, most of them get the stink out of them because rooms do have a tendency, if they're long-term occupants, do have a tendency to stink up rooms to where they've got to be put uh, O2 machines into them for days on end to get the stench out. And you're right, losing once you've lost repeat business, that business is gone forever. So, but everybody, have a good day. Enjoy yourselves. I'll be back on Thursday. As always, be with the ones you love and love the ones that you're with. And have a good day.